If you've ever heard the phrase, "she's too good for me to do that with," or you've wondered why some men lose sexual interest in their partner after the birth of a child, you've already encountered one of the most common, yet rarely discussed psychological complexes in American society. Picture this. John and Sarah have been married for 3 years. Before marriage, their sex life was passionate and exciting. But since they tied the knot, and especially after Sarah gave birth to their first child, something changed. John doesn't look at her the same way anymore. He loves her, respects her as the mother of his child, but the passion is gone. At night, while she sleeps, he secretly watches pornography, feeling both guilt and confusion. "Why can't I desire the woman I love?" he asks himself. If this story sounds familiar, whether from personal experience or from the lives of those close to you, you are not alone. What John is experiencing has a name, the Madonna-Wh complex, and it's quietly destroying millions of American relationships, without most people even knowing it exists. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Sigmund Freud, as controversial as he may be, was right about one thing. Back in 1912, he described a phenomenon he saw again and again in his patients, men who simply couldn't combine love and sexual desire for the same woman. "Where they love, they do not desire, and where they desire, they cannot love," Freud wrote. Sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? But look carefully around you. How many couples do you know whose sex life died after marriage? How many men do you know who have affairs despite claiming to love their wives? How many times have you heard the phrase, "she's too good of a girl for that kind of thing"? The Madonna-Wh complex splits women in a man's consciousness into two categories that never intersect. On one side are the Madonnas, the pure, sacred, respectable women, the mothers, the wives, the good girls. On the other are the whores, the sexual ones, the available ones, those you can do dirty things with. And here's the problem. The moment a woman transitions from the second category to the first, say by becoming a wife or mother, sexual desire for her vanishes. Let's get specific. What does this complex look like in real life? Here are a few scenarios you might recognize. Mark adores his wife Lisa. She's a wonderful mother, an excellent homemaker, his best friend. But in bed, Mark feels awkward initiating sex. When she tries to be more adventurous, he pulls back. It's not right, he thinks, unable to explain why. Meanwhile, he fantasizes about the woman from the gym he'd never bring home. Or take David. After his girlfriend Emily got pregnant, he suddenly lost all sexual interest in her. "I can't do that with the future mother of my child," he tells his therapist. But why? Emily is the same woman. Nothing has changed except her status in his consciousness. Then there's Ryan, who loves going to strip clubs and flirting with strangers, but barely touches his wife at home. When his friends ask why, he says, "Well, she's a mother of 3. It's not the same." Do you recognize the pattern? The woman transforms from a sexual object to a sacred object, and in that moment, sexuality dies. To understand this complex, we need to go back to childhood. No, this isn't a psychology cliché, it's a reality confirmed by decades of research. Imagine a little boy growing up in a typical American family. On one hand, his mother is a saint. She feeds him, cares for him, loves him unconditionally. She's pure, untouched, asexual in his eyes. On the other hand, culture bombards him with images of sexualized women. In music videos, in advertisements, in pornography he accesses at an increasingly young age. Add to this the religious upbringing many Americans receive. Christianity, especially in its more conservative forms, has historically divided women into virgins and whores. Virgin Mary versus Mary Magdalene. Purity versus sin. This division seeps deep into the psyche. Then comes adolescence. Boys are taught that good girls don't do certain things, that you should respect women who deserve respect, but you can have fun with the others, that your future wife should be different from the girls you experiment with. Pornography, which the average American boy starts watching at age 11, only reinforces this split. In porn, women are either innocent, barely legal girls who need to be corrupted, or they're sluts who love everything. There's no middle ground. No normal, healthy, loving sexual relationships. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. How much this complex actually costs us as a society. First, there's the personal cost. Imagine living in a marriage where you can't be both best friends and passionate lovers with your spouse, where you have to choose between respect and desire, where you feel guilty about your sexual desires for the person you love most. For women, the cost is even higher. Imagine knowing your husband loves you but doesn't desire you, that you have to choose between being respected and being wanted, that the moment you become a mother, you lose your sexual identity in your partner's eyes. This destroys self-esteem, creates deep wounds, and often leads to depression and anxiety. Then comes the cost to children. They grow up in homes where their parents are like roommates, friendly but without passion. They learn that love and sexuality are separate things. And the cycle continues. Economically speaking, this complex contributes to America's 50% divorce rate. The average divorce costs between $15,000 and $30,000. Millions of dollars are spent on marriage counseling, therapy, legal services, and the emotional cost? Immeasurable. But here's the good news. The Madonna-Wh complex isn't a life sentence. It can be overcome. Here's how. Step 1. Recognition. The first and most important thing is to recognize the problem. Ask yourself honestly, can I feel passion for someone I deeply respect? Does my sexual desire for my partner change when they transition into a new role, spouse, parent? Do I categorize women or men into groups? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, you probably have some degree of this complex. And that's okay. Recognition is the first step toward change. Step 2. Communication. Talk to your partner. Yes, I know it's awkward, but imagine how liberating it would be to say, I love you so much that sometimes it's hard for me to see you sexually. This isn't about you, it's something in me that I want to change. Most partners will be relieved to hear this. They've probably sensed the distance and blamed themselves for it. Opening this topic can be the beginning of a new level of intimacy. Step 3. Integration. This is the practical work. You need to consciously work on integrating the two women or two men into one person. Here are some exercises. Visualization. Every day, spend 5 minutes visualizing your partner simultaneously in their role as parent, professional, and as a sexual being. See them changing diapers and then seducing you. See them in a business meeting and then in bed. Train your brain to hold both images together. Transition rituals. Create rituals that help transition from one role to another. For example, after putting the kids to bed, shower together. This physically and symbolically washes away the parental role and prepares you for intimacy. Sexual meditation. Practice mindfulness during sex. When your mind starts saying, this isn't right, or she's a mother, I shouldn't be doing this, stop and return to physical sensations. Remind yourself, this is the person I love. We deserve complete intimacy. Step 4. Re-examining beliefs. Write down all the beliefs you have about sex, love, and women or men. For example, good girls don't like sex, mothers aren't sexual, I can't do dirty things with someone I love. Then next to each belief, write the opposite. Healthy women enjoy sex. Mothers are whole people with sexual needs. True love includes full sexual expression. Read the new beliefs every day. At first they'll feel fake, but over time they'll start replacing the old ones. Let me tell you about Michael and Jessica. After 10 years of marriage and 3 kids, they were on the brink of divorce. Sex had stopped completely. Michael admitted he watched porn every night, but couldn't touch his wife. She's a saint to me, he said, the mother of my children. They started therapy specifically targeting this problem. The therapist gave them homework. Every week, do something that violates Michael's rules. The first week, Jessica had to wear sexy lingerie under her everyday clothes and text him about it during the day. The second week, they had sex while the kids slept in the next room, something Michael considered disrespectful. Slowly, step by step, they broke down the barrier between mother and lover. Today, 2 years later, their sex life is better than it was even at the beginning of their relationship. I learned to see all of Jessica, Michael says, not just the mother or just the sexual woman, but everything together, and it's incredibly liberating. Or take Sarah, who came to therapy because her husband Tom had lost interest in her after she got promoted and became his boss. I can't have sex with a woman who's my boss, Tom admitted. I don't know, it just isn't right. Their work was to separate professional from personal life, but also to integrate respect with sexuality. Tom had to learn he could respect Sarah's power and intelligence and desire her sexually. They created transition rituals. When Sarah came home from work, she symbolically took off the boss role along with her work clothes. The result? For the first time in my life, Tom says, I have a partner who's everything to me, friend, lover, intellectual equal. I didn't know this was possible. It's time to check yourself. Answer these questions honestly. When I think of my partner in a parental role, do I lose sexual interest? Do I feel guilty when I have dirty fantasies about someone I love? Do I divide potential partners into relationship material and fun only? Does my sexual behavior change drastically after marriage? Do I fantasize about other people instead of my partner? Do I avoid certain sexual acts with my partner that I would do with someone else? Do I feel like I need to protect my partner from my sexuality? If you answered yes to 3 or more questions, you probably have some degree of the Madonna-Wh complex. This isn't a sentence, it's an opportunity for growth. Here's a concrete 30-day plan to start the change. Days 1-7. Awareness. Keep a journal. Record every time you feel conflict between love and desire. Don't judge yourself, just observe. Days 8-14. Communication. Share with your partner what you're discovering. Start a conversation about your sexual needs and fears. Days 15-21. Experimentation. Every day do something small that breaks your rules. Hold hands during dinner with the kids. Kiss passionately in the kitchen. Send a sexy text in the middle of the workday. Days 22-30. Integration. Start practicing whole seeing of your partner. Every night before bed, visualize them in all their roles as parent, professional, friend, and lover, all at once. Imagine a relationship where you can be everything to your partner, where there are no forbidden territories, no guilt, no division, where you can make love to the person who knows you best, who has seen your worst and your best, and still desires you. This isn't fantasy. This is possible. But it requires courage to look in the mirror and admit we're carrying baggage from the past, that we've been programmed by a culture that separates love from sex, respect from desire. The Madonna-Wh complex isn't your fault, but overcoming it is your responsibility. A responsibility to yourself, to your partner, to your children, who deserve to see what true, complete love looks like. If you've made it this far, you've probably recognized yourself or someone you love in these descriptions. Maybe you feel uncomfortable, even a little exposed. That's good. Discomfort is the beginning of change. Remember, this isn't about blame. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about freeing yourself from limitations you never consciously chose. About creating relationships that are both deep and passionate, respectful and erotic. Your partner isn't either a saint or a sinner. They're not either a Madonna or a whore. They're a complex, multi-layered human being who deserves to be seen and loved in their entirety. And you deserve to experience what it's like to love and desire the same person with your whole heart and body, without reservation, without guilt, without boundaries between heart and body. The path isn't easy. There will be moments of resistance, of falling back into old patterns. But every step forward is a step toward a more authentic, more fulfilling life. Start today. Start with a small step. Look at your partner and try to see everything they are. Not just the mother or father, not just the husband or wife, but the whole sexual, complex human being you've chosen to love. Because true love doesn't divide. It integrates. And when you can integrate all parts of your partner and all parts of yourself, then you'll experience what true intimacy is. And that, my friends, is worth the effort.